Jimmy woke up to the relentless buzz of his alarm clock. His hand instinctively reached out to silence it, but the sound lingered in his mind, a reminder of another day blending into the next. He rolled out of bed, shuffled into the kitchen, and began his morning ritual: coffee, toast, and a mindless scroll through social media. The glowing screen lit up his face, reflecting a collage of success stories. Mark's gleaming private jet, Lucy's sun-kissed vacation in the Maldives, Liam's post celebrating his promotion with the caption, "Hard work pays off." Jimmy sighed, staring at the screen. When will it be my turn? At 32, Jimmy wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't fulfilled either. His job as a marketing executive paid the bills and kept him comfortable, but the spark of passion he once had for his career had long faded. Instead, his mind often drifted to thoughts of inadequacy, comparing his life to the curated highlight reels he saw online. The pressure builds at work, the walls felt like they were closing in. Every meeting seemed to spotlight someone else's accomplishments. Liam, his colleague, was the golden boy, praised for his ideas, leading successful projects, and climbing the corporate ladder with ease. Jimmy felt invisible in comparison. He worked hard, but it never seemed to be enough. One afternoon, as his boss applauded Liam's latest achievement, Jimmy felt a pang of jealousy he couldn't suppress. He avoided the post-meeting chatter and retreated to his desk. Staring at his blank notepad, he whispered to himself, "Why'd I even try? I'll never be as good as Liam, or Mark, or anyone." The weight of comparison was suffocating. A walk in the park that evening, Jimmy decided he couldn't sit with his thoughts any longer. He grabbed his jacket and headed out for a walk. The cool evening air brushed against his face as he wandered aimlessly through the city streets. His feet eventually led him to the city park, a place he often visited to escape the chaos of his mind. The park was alive with energy, children laughing, joggers weaving through pathways, and couples enjoying quiet moments. Jimmy's steps slowed as he reached a familiar bench under an old oak tree. He sank into the seat, letting his thoughts swirl around him. "Rough day?" The voice startled him. He turned to see an elderly man seated at the far end of the bench, scattering breadcrumbs for the pigeons at his feet. The man's face was kind, his eyes crinkled with wisdom and warmth. Jimmy hesitated. "Yeah," he admitted. "You could say that." The man smiled. "I've seen that look before. Let me guess, you're feeling stuck. Like no matter how hard you try, it's never enough." Jimmy blinked, surprised by the accuracy of the stranger's observation. "How did you?" The man chuckled softly. "Because I've been there, son. My name's Henry. What's yours?" "Jimmy." "Well, Jimmy," Henry said, turning to him fully, "you're not alone in feeling this way. Most people spend their lives chasing a horizon they'll never reach. Let me tell you a story, one that helped me when I was where you are now." The oak and the rose. Henry leaned back, his voice calm and steady as he began his tale. "Once upon a time, in a lush meadow, there grew an oak tree and a rose bush. The oak was mighty and tall, its branches stretching high into the sky. It was the pride of the meadow, admired by all who passed by. Birds nested in its branches, travelers sought shade under its canopy, and children marveled at its strength. Beside the oak grew a rose bush. It was small and delicate, its beauty residing in its vibrant blossoms and sweet fragrance. But despite its charm, the rose bush often felt inadequate beside the towering oak. "Why can't I be like you?" the rose bush asked one day, its petals trembling with envy. The oak replied gently, "Why would you want to be like me? You bring joy to the world in ways I never could. Your flowers are a gift, and your fragrance is a blessing." But the rose wasn't convinced. It spent its days longing for the oak's strength and stature, convinced it was inferior. One stormy night, a fierce wind swept through the meadow. The oak, despite its deep roots, groaned and swayed under the force of the storm. Some of its branches broke, leaving it wounded. The rose bush, though small, bent with the wind, its flexibility allowing it to survive unscathed. When the storm passed, the rose realized that its strength lay in its ability to adapt and endure. From that day forward, it embraced its own unique qualities and stopped comparing itself to the oak. Henry turned to Jimmy, his eyes twinkling. The oak and the rose weren't meant to live the same life. And neither are you and the people you compare yourself to. The shift begins as Jimmy walked home that night. Henry's words echoed in his mind. He realized how much energy he had wasted trying to measure his worth against others. The next morning, Jimmy made a decision. He deactivated his social media accounts. The constant comparison had been poisoning his thoughts, and he needed space to focus on himself. In place of scrolling, he started journaling every morning. He wrote about his goals, his strengths, and the things he was grateful for. Slowly, he began to see himself in a new light, not as someone failing to measure up, but as someone with unique gifts and potential. At work, Jimmy decided to stop chasing others' paths and instead focus on his own growth. He volunteered for projects that challenged him and enrolled in an advanced marketing course to sharpen his skills. Though progress was slow, Jimmy felt something he hadn't felt in years: pride in his own journey. The breakthrough months later, Jimmy's efforts began to pay off. His creativity flourished, and his contributions didn't go unnoticed. One afternoon, his boss called him into her office. "Jimmy, your recent work has been outstanding. We're promoting you to senior marketing manager." Jimmy was elated, but this time, it wasn't the title or recognition that brought him joy. It was the knowledge that he had earned it by focusing on his own growth. Sharing the wisdom, Jimmy felt a newfound purpose. He started a blog, Stop Comparing, Start Living, where he shared his experiences and Henry's story of the oak and the rose. His words resonated with people worldwide, and messages poured in from readers who felt seen and inspired. Jimmy realized that his struggles had not been in vain. They had equipped him to help others escape the trap of comparison. Full circle moment: years later, Jimmy returned to the park bench where he had met Henry. Though the bench was empty, Jimmy smiled, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. He had learned to stop chasing the horizon and to embrace his unique journey. As he scattered crumbs for the pigeons, a young man approached, his face clouded with worry. "Rough day?" Jimmy asked, offering a kind smile. The man nodded. Jimmy gestured for him to sit. "Let me tell you a story." Key takeaways from Jimmy's journey: appreciate your strengths, like the rose. You have unique gifts to share. Silence the noise. Step away from anything that feeds self-doubt. Celebrate small wins. Every step forward is progress. Embrace your journey. Life isn't a race. Trust your timeline. Jimmy's story is a powerful reminder that the only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. True fulfillment comes from within, and when you stop comparing,